Yeah, peeps, it's tersse back now, what walks once again, and I'm continuing on the political theme. It's again the Deal with Politics show. This is them talking about this projected idea that in a week or so's time the Conservatives are going to have their political, what do you call it, meet up, you know what I mean? Their big sort of get together, and it's expected that David Cameron, or his, what do you call it, the guy in charge of work and pensions, is going to bring forward this idea of making unemployed people do work for the dole money. Now, this has been suggested for, and they do talk about this in the show. This has been brought forward by political parties since the 70s. It was brought forward in the 70s, it was brought forward in the 80s with Thatcher, it was projected and brought forward in the 90s as well, but no, it was adjusted. It wasn't just getting you to do work. What they did is they paid you to go and get educated, they paid you to do 6-week, 12-week courses and certain things, that give you skills that you could go and then apply for a job, But this is just simply saying they're just going to force people who are on the dole to do work. That you have to go to the dole, and when you sign on, they'll say, right, here's a job, you've got to go and sweep a park or sweep the street, or And I can see this working out really bad. It will introduce perhaps 500,000 or 1 million people into a very small jobs market at the moment, because we are in a recession. So if you start to say that you can have a person on the dole working for £70 a week, doing a job that somebody's getting paid 200 quid a week for, well, who isn't going to take that guy on it? Somebody retires and well, instead of hiring somebody for 200 quid a week, I'll just say at the door, I'll just say, send me around somebody for 70 quid a week. And I don't pay them, you pay them the 70 quid, the government does, that's it. Just send that free slave worker around, and I'll get them sweeping up my fucking, gigantic fucking warehouse, you know what I mean? That's the sort of thing that could happen, And then that would mean that that's a job that would have been back in the economy, a job vacancy. That job vacancy is gone now because somebody on the dole's getting it, you know what I mean? And is there any chance that that person's going to actually, I don't know how long they'll have to do it for. They might say they have to do it for, 6 weeks or 12 weeks or a year or 6 months. Who knows, They probably have to put a limit on it. And they might have to say that it's only until they can get some skills that they can actually go and get, apply for a job. But, it's a job that's not on the job market anymore. It's a bad idea. To me, it's a bad idea. I remember in the 70s when they started this in the 70s. My brothers were both on it for about three months, 1 year, and they had to go and work in the parks department for their dole money, and they got an extra tenner or something like that a week to pay for their transport, their bus fares to the place of work, and lunches and stuff, So they get an extra tenner a week. On top of the dole, and dole money back then was only like £40 a week, you know what I mean? So they were getting like £50 a week instead of 40, and they were out having fun doing in the park, digging flower beds, planting flowers, fixing fucking ornamental fucking what do you call them, fountains, they taught them how to do stonemasonry and plumbing and all that. They learned lots of skills, which was beneficial. It was, I tell you, it was beneficial. When I left school a couple of years later, and it wasn't being done anymore, I left in 77, but they were doing it in about 75 or something. I didn't know fuck all, but my brothers had learned lots of skills through that initiative. It was not a bad idea. But the point of them, now they're just going to say you do it for dole money. No, you have to make work worth working for. If you're going to go and do a job that was getting somebody was getting paid 200 quid a week for, and you're going to get £70 a week. I think the least they could do is say, we're going to give you £50 a week in order to pay your travel expenses, your lunch money, you know what I mean, and give you a couple of quid extra to make you actually want to keep doing it rather than trying to find ways out of it, you know. But it is going to be popular because everybody thinks that you shouldn't be getting something for nothing. And myself as well. I'm too out of work, right? I am too out of work. But if I was an 18-year-old guy on the dole, no prospects, and the government says to me, we're instigating and instituting this new policy where for your dole money you're going to have to go and do some work, but we're going to give you some extra money and we're going to give you a choice of places where you might want to go and do this work. We're not just going to say like you go and sweep the fucking streets, or you got to go and, you know, fucking, I don't know, you know, blow leaves off the fucking park or something. You know what I mean? It's something stupid that's just make work. It's just you making sure you get out the house. No, I would want to be able to go and get skills. But in fact, I remember in the 80s when Thatcher came in, you know, she did do one thing. She actually instigated some policies where not only if you were unemployed, but if you were in a low wage job, you could take access for getting, you know, applying for educational funds, where they would pay you the money to go and train in a skill, you know. I mean, I learned programming. I did informatics programming, you know what I mean, in the 80s, you know. I took that up, and I went and did it over a 12-week course. I stopped work, I went and learned that skill, thinking it would lead me on to a better job, but it didn't. But it enthused me that I could go and learn a skill, learn something I didn't know, and would give me an opportunity to get work, you know. And then I went from that as well, that, you know, even when I was working, I could go to night school. I could pay for night classes, 1 or 2 evenings a week, you know, 3 hours or something like that a week, you know, 2 days a week, you know, 6 hours a week. Go to night school, I could learn, and I did that, and it improved my skills and my ability to get a better job later, you know. So, you know, it's all that. I mean, I don't see what's wrong with the government putting these training skill schemes into place and getting people who like me were enthusiastic to better themselves to take it up, you know, apply for that government money and go and educate and improve themselves. I'm totally, but this just, you're getting dole money, so we're going to force you to go and do some shitty fucking bit of work that you're probably not suited for, or you know, you're taking a job away for someone. I think that's wrong. Anyway, I'll show you this video before I run out of fucking time to upload it, right? Scroungy fucking van, motherfuckers, that's all I can say.
All that in the next hour. With us for the whole programme today are 2 old hands, hope you don't find that offensive, here at Westminster, Polly Toynbee of The Guardian and Michael Brown. Welcome to the programme. Let's start with a story that's been briefed to a couple of newspapers this morning. That there are plans to make the long-term unemployed do work in return for receiving job seekers allowance. According to reports, an announcement is expected to be made at the Conservative Party conference next week. And a poll out today suggests the policy would be overwhelmingly popular amongst voters. Polly Toynbee, what say you?
I'm sure it will be popular.
Yes.
It's the sort of thing that sounds as if it makes sense. But I think it's going to be like the bedroom tax. Once people actually see what happens and how it pans out, you'll get a whole turnaround. The bedroom tax is now very unpopular, having started off popular, because if you have a large group of people working unpaid, they're displacing other people. It also turns out to be very expensive. It's quite difficult to find them all jobs. And they're going to include people with serious mental problems, with serious physical problems. And I think we'll get an awful lot of stories of people in a bad state of distress being made to do very unsuitable work. And I suspect public opinion will say, oh, we didn't mean those people. We didn't mean in that way. As ever, it's one of those back-of-the-envelope, sounds great for conference policies, but it won't work.
Or is it back of the envelope, or is it actually a progression, Michael Brown, of the welfare policies that have been set out by the government?
Yes, I think it is, and I think that Polly's being a little bit unfair to the government on this. There is no doubt that it will get, as she says, a huge cheer at the Tory party conference next week. I can't help feeling that I've actually heard this announcement made by successive governments over the last 20 years. So whether anything will actually come of it, I'm not so sure. Polly's quite right that it's where you draw the line. There are many people who are long-term unemployed who do have mental health problems. Single-parent families who are bringing up tiny children will obviously be possibly very worried about this. But I think there is no doubt that the government is tapping into a rich seam of public opinion.
Michael Heseltine did this, and he did it very well because he did pay them extra. And I supported it at the time. I think he called it workfare towards the end of the last Tory government. And it was popular, but he paid people. He said, you know, if you're working, you deserve to get more.
They'll say there's no money around, won't they?
The trick is to make it an incentive. And that's where the old workfare idea, which emanated from America during the early years of Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan's idea, very much was based on make it pay to work. But I think, but one thing in the government's defence is this: you do find that when benefits are withdrawn or threatened to be withdrawn, quite a lot of people may well be on the black economy anyway, and you do find that the number of claimants do actually go down.
Do you think, though, there could be an incentive put into a policy like this? Because you're right, people out there will say, well, surely it's better to do something than sit. I don't want to use George Osborne's analogy of sitting in the room with the blinds down, but sitting around not doing very much else.
Of course it is, and work experience is a good thing, and I mean, it all depends on whether they're doing things that are useful and that will lead to work, and whether they're the right people who are being asked about. But also, they should be rewarded. Otherwise, they will, if over a long period of time, you know, you have 1 million people doing unpaid work. What does that do to the world of work? It begins to tip the balance that there are too many people working almost as kind of, you know, as free labour. They will displace real jobs.
Do you think it is a sophisticated enough announcement in terms of setting out what Polly is saying, which is it does have to be work that might lead to a job at the end of it, bearing in mind, I think the long-term unemployed classified as 2 years out of work, that it would lead to something. It isn't just slave labour, as some people would call it.
Well, I hope that the government, when it makes an announcement like this at a party conference, of course, it is just the headline, it will get the crowd-pleasing delegates on their feet. I do hope that behind it there has been some work done.
Wouldn't count on it.
But that's going to be the test.
Making announcements without work being done on their policies, or oppositions for that matter.
Sometimes governments make announcements and never hear about them ever after. And as we get towards the next election, who knows where it will go. But it might well be something that the government will announce as something that could be fleshed out for the next manifesto. There's no doubt that the general public are very much on the government's side on this.
Yes, thank you.